From my kitchen to yours, this is Chef Christen, and tonight we're going to be doing the baked mushroom strudel. And you know, I can't remember how many times that I've done this for family functions, I've done this for catering. Hugely popular with everybody that's ever tried the recipe, and I love it because it's absolutely versatile. So based on the ingredients laid out, you can see that it's a little bit more intricate than the other things that we've done up until now. So what I have here is I've cut and sliced portobello mushrooms and some brown mushrooms. So these are just basically mushrooms that I had here at home. You can use white mushrooms, you can use enoki mushrooms, you can use shiitake. It really doesn't matter so long as there's mushrooms. Along with that, I've sliced up some onions. You can add some garlic, you can add some thyme, you can add some oregano. It's completely versatile. Whatever your personality, let it spew out into the recipe, okay? So I've got some olive oil, salt, pepper, I've got some shredded mozzarella, egg wash, 2 eggs and a little bit of water, some flour, and my secret is the roasted garlic and peppers. Not much of a secret anymore because everybody knows about it now. So, and of course the puff dough. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to take the mushrooms and we're going to saute them in a nice hot pan, which I have right here. Some nice olive oil, and generously adding it to the saute pan. There we go. Oh, it's starting to smell really good. A little bit more oil. And you want to get a nice even saute. The reason that we're doing this is to really incorporate all these layers of flavor, the onions and the mushrooms, so that they're really kind of married together. And at the last minute, we'll add the salt and the pepper. Like I had mentioned, you can add dried herbs, fresh herbs, you can add garlic, whatever your motivation, added to the recipe to add that own personal flair. So now we're going to saute down basically all the mushrooms that I have here, and now I've prepared a baking tray and I've lined it with saran. What I'm going to do is I'm going to saute all the mushrooms and lay them out onto the pan, pop them in the fridge and cool them down so that we can get them ready for the puff dough filling. So basically, you want to saute it down to the point where that the onions are semi-translucent and the mushrooms are really kind of, with the salt, it pulls all the water out of the mushroom and really kind of cooks it down so that it's stewing in its own juices. That's what we're looking for. Once you reach that point, you pull it off, which takes usually at about a medium-high heat. Takes in between 3 to 5 minutes. So I've sauteed all the mushrooms together, and what I'm doing is I'm spreading them all out like this. I'm making it cool down as quickly as possible. So from here, basically I'm going to pop it in the fridge, cool it off, and start working on the strudel dough. Okay, so I've taken the mushroom mixture out of the fridge and it is nicely cooled off. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be focusing on the puff dough. Now the puff dough that we have for this particular recipe is a frozen puff dough that you can pick up at pretty much any supermarket. It really doesn't matter. Or if you have a bakery that you trust, then this would be a recipe or a dough that you would want them to do for you. So we're just laying it out, and in order so that it doesn't stick, you want to make sure that you really kind of flour it. So that it doesn't stick, because if this sticks, your life is just gotten a little bit miserable. A little bit of flour on the table. Flip it over. So let's say during the process of pulling the parchment off of the puff pastry dough, and there are a couple of holes, then you just got to cover them up. Okay, so it's not too much of a big deal. Again, we have to make sure that everything is nicely floured so that it will not stick. That's kind of the key. Okay, alright, so we have our handy dandy rolling pin. Got to make sure that that's nicely floured too. And all we're looking for is a nice square shape. You really want to make sure that the outer edges and the inside are roughly the same configuration, millimeters. Okay, nice and thin all the way around. That's kind of the way that we want it. Okay, so I'll grab a knife, make sure that it's nice and straight on all the edges, cut off any excess pastry dough that we may have, because you want to make the package nice and even for cooking purposes. So this is the work, and what I like about it is you can make it a day ahead. You can freeze it. It keeps really well, and so if it looks a little too intricate for you, then certainly you could do it a day ahead. Absolutely no problem. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the mushrooms here, give them a good squeeze, make sure that there's no excess water at all, and we are going to lay it out flat onto the dough. Give it a good squeeze, because there's always a little bit of excess moisture, because mushrooms do contain up to 80% water, so they will always have that excess moisture, and moisture in pastry is not recommended. So what we're doing is we're just kind of laying it out flat. We're leaving about an inch all the way around in order so that we can use the egg wash to completely sear it off. Okay, so we're looking really good. Very good. Laying it as flat as possible. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so here, what I do is I'll make sure that I season it again. So a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then the secret ingredient, making sure that it's nicely spread all over. The cheese. The cheese not only is another layer of flavor, what it really acts to be is the glue, to make sure that the contents don't fall out once you do slice it open after it's been baked. So very important that we put the cheese in there so that it holds all the contents together. no mess, nice and clean, really refreshing, and who doesn't like cheese? I love cheese. So we can go a little bit heavy. That's not a problem at all. All right, so, and now comes the egg wash, which we're gonna kind of line on the outside here. This is the glue to keep everything together. Gonna do it on all the way around, because you want to make sure that everything really kind of adheres to one another. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to actually roll it. So we're going to take our time and fold it all together. And I'll just move this over here. And from the center, gently roll it all together just like this, and until the end is at the bottom. That's kind of what we're looking for. You want to sear off the sides just by patting it down like this, making sure that everything is nice and glued. Trim the edges, because that's kind of what we're looking for. And then give it a good pinch on the outside so none of the goodies fall out. That's really important. And now comes the egg wash. Now it's really important when you're using puff pastry that you use egg wash pretty much everywhere. So anywhere that the egg wash has not hit, it's not going to turn that nice golden brown, what we're kind of looking for. So we've got to be very thorough and make sure that we have egg wash covering the entire strudel. The sides, the top, the ends, pretty much everywhere. Now we're going to bake it at, puff dough likes a little bit hotter, so we're going to bake it at 375. We're going to bake it for, depending on what kind of an oven that you have, convection is obviously a little bit faster. But here at home, we do not run any kind of convection at all. We have just a regular oven. So we're looking at about 375 for about 35 minutes, or until it's absolutely golden brown. So we'll just get a presentation platter. You can use a plate, you can use pretty much anything that you have. It really lends itself well to some kind of a presentation, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to cut it right on the baking sheet. Now each strudel can make up to about 10 to 15 slices. It's all depending on how thick that you want to slice it. If you're using it for a main course, if you're using it for an appetizer, it really doesn't matter. It's all depending on how thick that you slice it. Beautiful. So here we go. This is how I like to show off its beauty. And just do it like that. You can see the layers of the mushroom and the cheese. And if you had smell-o-vision, you could actually smell the whole room is permeated by this beautiful smell. And that's kind of what this whole thing's about. And I always learned you gotta save the end pieces. So there you have it, baked mushroom strudel. Definitely a crowd pleaser, and it has been a staple in our family for years. So you got to try this recipe, especially when you're inviting people over to the house. From my kitchen to yours, this has been Chef Michael Christen. Thank you very much.